Hello, happy friends! Even Star here, not in the shed at Hancock's House of Happy. We're in the lounge of Hancock's House of Happy because the light in my shed is very poor right now because it's very wintry in the UK right now and it's very gloomy. And it's even like dark in here. I've got like curtains and everything open, which I don't usually like. I usually like to sort of introvert in the wintertime and have all the windows and curtains shut. Anyway, very special edition of Hancock's House of Happy today because we had a kiln opening today. So I'm going to take you through what came out of the kiln. So you may or may not know that one of the other things that I do besides cross stitch is ceramics, but I haven't done ceramics in quite a while. There's various reasons for that. One of them being that the kiln was in a place where it couldn't be fired, and it is a pain in the ass to move, so I finally moved it, and I was able to do some firing, and I had some greenware, which is totally unfired clay that needed to be fired. It's sort of been languishing in the shed, going moldy for probably a year. It's been that long, and so much came out of the kiln after the bisque firing. It's like, well, I might as well glaze it and do a finish firing or a glaze firing. And glaze firings are always exciting because you're never quite sure what you're going to get. And this was especially exciting for me because I've got a bunch of new glazes and underglazes to try out on different things. So without further ado, let's look at what came out of the kiln. Yay! So I'm going to be a little bit organized about this because what came out of the kiln can be categorized in various ways, and for the most part I do this kind of thing. I do animals and little figurines and things like that. I don't do a lot of throwing. That's something I'm like teaching myself and I'm trying to get better at to make more functional things. But for the most part, it's animals. These are terracotta pigs, and these sort of fall under the category of raw with spots of glaze on them. So as you can see, the terracotta for the most part is unglazed apart from these cute little piggy spots. Yay! And I really like the contrast of the raw clay with the smooth glaze on it. It looks really nice, but also it's really kind of nice to, it gives you like a lot of texture to hold on to. So, you know, there's another example. So these are some of the new glazes I've got, and I wasn't sure how they were going to behave. I think this is my least favorite one because it's got these chunkies in it of glass that are supposed to melt, but they don't really melt properly. They kind of like bloom strangely like that. I think some of them turned out really nicely. So this one, you sort of got spots that are like mottled as well. You see his little piggy face. Yay, he's so cute. I mean, if you're interested in buying, I sell these. If you're interested in buying any, I'll give you some pricing indicators at the end of the video and how to contact me if you want one. So another category is all over glazed with underglazing details. So again, terracotta. I had like a big batch of terracotta. Most of what I pulled out this time was terracotta, which is the brown clay like that. It fired really nice and dark under the over glaze. So as you can see, these guys are shiny all over, and this guy's got like cute little flowers on him. This one's got blue spots of underglaze on him. So there's quite a few that came out like this, especially like the flowers. I think they're mostly like blue, terracotta. So yeah, those guys, cute. Next up, we have a very special breed of pig. These are Mandala pigs, and these were colored while they still were unfired, so while they were still green and not bisked, with quite fancy mandala sort of decorations on them. So you can see these guys are all different. Quite a lot of work, as you can imagine, to go into, because the mandala is, you've got it, when you put underglaze on stuff, you need to put on about 3 coats of underglaze for the colors to be vivid, especially against a dark clay like this, because they're translucent. So I had to do each of those dots 3 times. I'm not sure I'm going to be making many more Mandala pigs. They're quite labor intensive, but I actually really thought the effects were quite beautiful. These are an example of different clay body. So this is a buff colored stoneware, and the underglaze was sponged on, which is why, if you can see it there, you've got a little bit of mottled sort of pink and blue. I really like the color combination on these guys. Sort of like unicorn or mermaid pigs. So I got a couple of those that came out. These came from a bisque firing that I did ages ago. I just never got around to glazing, so they went in with everybody else. I couldn't remember the temperature to which I fired the bisqueware, so I wasn't sure whether these guys were going to turn out with the overglaze on, because if the bisqueware is fired inappropriately to the glaze you put on, they shrink at different rates and bad things can happen. There's a little bit of crazing on these guys that gives them some texture, which I don't mind. I think it's like I say, I think it's like quite decorative, and these aren't for eating off, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think they turned out quite cute. So next up, we've got some glazing experiments. So I had a bunch of new glazes, which I really wanted to try out, because you're never really sure how it's going to work out on different shapes and different textures. I love how these guys turned out, and I've got like 10 more glazes to test on pigs. I especially love this one, which is a sort of a more satin or matte glaze. Like, not all glaze is shiny, right? You can come out like really matte like that, and I think that really suits the terracotta clay. And I've got a buff colors one there with, I tried 2 different glazes on there that I think came out quite interesting, sort of a brown and a blue one. Sort of gives the pig a lot of life and texture. And then this one I really love. I love this guy. And again, this was a couple of different glazes. And then sort of one's that's sort of matte, one that's kind of shiny. Came out very stoneware glaze looking. I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to try a lot more with different color combinations on them. So that's it for pigs. So if you're interested in buying a pig from me, I'll put the price list around here somewhere, but sorry, I'm just looking down at my pigs right now. But if you want one of these guys, which is just the underglaze with the overglaze, these are, what are these? I got my price list somewhere. These are £15. But if you want 3, you can have them 3 for £40. You know, why not? If you're gonna bulk buy, I'll give you a deal, right? So you've got the ones with the spots, and then you've got ones with flowers on them, like that. Now, if you want, again, one of these guys, which is the raw terracotta with the shiny spots, again, £15 or 3 for 40. If you want, now the Mandala pigs are quite special, right? So these are £20 each, because there's a lot more work, obviously, that went into these. So 20 pounds each, or you can have 4 of them for 70 pounds. I'll give you a deal because I only did 4. There's only 4 in existence. There'll probably never be any more. So if you want the full set, like 70 quid, and they're yours. For just the sort of like modeled glazed pigs, those are like same price as the others. So those are like 15 or 3 for 40. And I've only have actually 3 of these ones right now. But when I do a new batch, I will post that up and let you know. And again, these guys, they were just sort of the sponged, underglazed and glazed. Again, 15 quid each. Unfortunately, I only have 2 of these, so if you want one of the other pigs, basically, pigs, they're 3 for 40, apart from the Mandala Pigs. So if you want a pig, let me know. If you want 3, it's a deal, 5 quid off. So that brings us to sheep, and I have a sheep load of sheep, and I'll give you some examples of the sheep here. They're sort of all different. They're all different colors. They've got lovely, if you can see that, they've got lovely texture on them, and the glaze runs in the texture really nicely. I really like how this one turned out with the sort of yellow detailing. Here's one, he's sort of a russet color, and some of them have their faces glazed and some of them don't. Some of them have sort of the raw clay they come with. There's like a little hole in there, so you can hang them up. These make really like cute little Christmas tree ornaments or bells. I turned some of these into bells, and they hang really nicely, or they can just sit on your shelf. I also have done ones where I put a copper wire coming out that you can put photographs in as well. So I have lots and lots and lots of sheep. I really like how that one turned out, the texture on that one. And there's one he's got his face painted. This is in the buff color. Obviously that's the buff color clay because I had some of those guys left from a previous firing. I think one of my favorite colors for the sheep is like this sort of green. It's like a green speckly color. It makes them look like a pile of moss. Do I have any? Yeah, so here's that blue glaze, which I'm not sure about that glaze because the frit or the glass chunkies in it, just not sure. It's like on some things the texture's nice, some things I'm not. So anyway, so those are sheep, and those are the same price as the pigs, 15 quid or 3.40. Next up we have cats. Yes, I'm a cat person, cat lover. I do like dogs as well, but you know, heart of hearts, cat person. So variety of cats. I did some experimentation with my new glazes on these guys as well. So you know, these fellas here, those are just the underglaze colors, like blue, like sort of a pinky purple, and then they've been overglazed, so they're shiny. I love the shape of this one. He is a lovely fat cat, and some of my cats turn out fat, some of them turn out skinny. I'm not really sure why, but I think I prefer the fat cats. So here is a skinny cat, right? And he's sort of terracotta with the brushed on underglaze. Unfortunately, his colors don't really come out here very well. He's sort of a pinky purple with some of the terracotta showing through. It's like you can't really see his little face. He's got a cute little face, sort of like got spots on it. However, I think, you know, for me, because I always have like my favorite children that come out of the kiln. I know I shouldn't, but I do. I think these 2 guys are my favorite, and these are with the sort of glazes, new glazes on them, and I love the shape of this one. He's a beautiful shape, and Also a beautiful color. I really love how that color turned out on the terracotta. I chose to leave his little face sort of raw so it stands out. And then there was this guy, and he got, when I did all the, I did test tiles for these glazes, but this glaze here was one that I didn't have a test tile for. So this was like an experiment. And again, because the light in here is not great, it's kind of catching it. But he's a lovely sort of red and brown tabby mottled. Really love how that guy turned out. So I've got a whole kennel full of cats. Cats, same price as the regular pigs, 15 or 3 for 40. So now we come to bits and bobs. Now, whenever I do a firing, I always have like sort of little bits and bobs either left over from a previous one or sort of, you know, maybe I had like some bits of clay that I was just basically doodling with, you know, the odd time, and strange things come out, and you never really know how you know it's gonna go until they come out. So I've got a tray here of miscellaneous things, like some of which I actually like quite like. They turned out really nicely. The first ones are these are actually, I do regular ones of these. These are like little goddesses, so little goddess figures. These are quite popular. You know, if you got a power woman in your life, they come in all different sort of shapes and sizes, tall, thin, fat, short, all different colors. Little goddesses. And we've got here these guys. These are sort of like my little doodle guys, right? And I call these, they're like commies or sprites. And they're basically, they're protectors of things. So protectors, they can go in a car or on your computer. I've got one for the kiln. I have a kiln commie or a kiln sprite that looks after my kiln while it's firing. So these guys are quite cute. Now here's one that I like the idea, but the glazing didn't really come out. He's sort of a commie, or a sprite, a spirit, who's sort of like got a cute grumpy face and these horns that I glazed, but the glaze ran too much, so that needs sort of a different glaze on it. But I might try making another one of him again and see if I can get better finish on him. And this little character here is a character that I invented like when I was a child. He's called a Wuss, and as you can see, he's covered with lots of hair, and he's got his little feet sticking out. Some of them have their feet at the front, and then you turn him around, he's got his little bum sticking out. So these are kind of fun guys to like stick in the garden. But they kind of, every time I look at them, they kind of cheer me up because they're always so worried. They always have like a worried look on their faces. And then this one, which was an experiment which almost failed because as I was glazing it, one of his feet fell off. So I quickly tried to stick it on with some glaze, and thankfully the glaze fired and stuck it together, and melted and stuck it together. But it's an Inukshuk, which, if you're Canadian, will be a very familiar symbol. I was thinking about doing a lot of these guys, but they turned out to be quite a labor-intensive and very fiddly thing to do, and also I worry about things like cultural appropriation when it comes to stuff like this, so jury's out on whether Inukshuks will be a regular feature. And what else do we have? We're a bit late. We got some Christmas tree ornaments. We're early. Don't know. Got an incense burner, which is a design I'm working on. It's like supposed to be like a fish. It's very difficult to capture that here, but it's like a fish incense burn. You put the incense here and it hangs obviously over the fish. But I think it's a design that I need to refine and work on. So I'm not going to be selling these guys. I don't like how the glazing turned out on them either. I like the idea of it, and I think I'm going to persevere with developing that design. And that's about it, other than I got some like sort of hangies. I'm going to make a wind chime. I've got some sort of, wind chime. I got like medallions and stuff. I was testing some stamps, which I would love to be able to recreate how that turned out, but I know I would never be able to, because I got some stamps and I was experimenting with stamps, which is always fun, like these hearts. I've got these like wood block stamps, which have quite a lot of detail in them, and they work with the clay quite well as well. And I think the glazes, so these are like test tiles, so I can see what some of the glazes look like on the different clays. Let's see, it's difficult to see which way. Yeah, light in here. So, and then finally I've got some little cats, which I made these a very long time ago and just never got around to coloring them. I'm thinking of developing that into more of sort of a ring holder design. But I like how this is like an experiment with like 2 different glaze colors on it, and I kind of like how that turned out. They kind of mixed together, but it gives the cat sort of that sort of tabby texture. So there you go. That's what I do when I'm not designing cross-stitch patterns. So like I say, if you'd be interested in purchasing any of these items, I will leave information about that somewhere around here. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description. If you're watching this on Facebook, then it'll be in the comment section, along with a price list and how you can contact me to buy anything if you wish to buy. So opening Kiln is a little bit like Christmas morning. You put everything in it and you're really just not sure how any of it's going to turn out, and you've got sort of pictures in your head about how certain colors are going to behave and come out, and it's always like, yeah, it's like Christmas Eve and then Christmas morning, and it's always exciting. So I'm glad I got to share that with you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and until next time, bye.